Hello, everybody. This is Maya, and this is going to be the video for this month of June. As I've said in my previous videos, I'm really trying to do a video a month, and I was kind of going through my camera roll and trying to see. Oh, now it's starting to rain. I don't know if you can hear that, but since last month I did one on me graduating, I didn't know if I wanted to necessarily go back into the vault and, pick a video that maybe was pre-recorded. I don't know how long ago, because this video has kind of been on my mind for a while of like when or if I'm going to make it. Because I don't know, I just wanted to see how things panned out. So I wanted to talk about my experience with COVID and with long COVID. It's funny because when I first got COVID, I was like, I'm gonna make a video on this, and I'm gonna talk about my COVID experience, and I don't know, just kind of because it was so novel back then. I hope we do not lose power. This is crazy. I don't know if you've seen the flickering. But I wanted to do one on that, because it was kind of like cold symptoms and at first. And I actually did go to the ER because I was really nervous when I first got COVID. And because the way my lungs felt, like I'd never felt something really like that in my life. And I have like mild asthma, but I technically am prescribed an inhaler, but I haven't used really one in years. And just the way my lungs felt, I was like, this doesn't feel right. And but of course you go to the doctor and they tell you everything's fine. And they send you back home $200 later. But anyway, but after my first infection, everything was kind of fine. I mean, I think I had a residual cough. And then I actually went to France. I went abroad on a study abroad trip, like a couple weeks, maybe a month later. It was like the infection, then like a month later I was gone. So I was still I was like back at it, like physically, kind of didn't really bat an eye. I was like, okay, it's basically like a cold, like what everyone else is saying. However, obviously there's people that get it really, really bad. There are people that were hospitalized and all of that. So I guess for me being a young person, I was like, this is fine. Even though it still freaked me out enough that I went to the ER. But anyway, I ended up okay, right? And then this is sort of the meat of it that I wanted to kind of get into. Now, I don't know how long this video is going to be, so I guess bear with me if you want to, listen to me talk about this. But I think I got COVID the second time. I'm not sure if it was the second or third time, honestly, because basically, let's jump forward now to, okay. That first initial infection was May of 2022. And then this infection that I'm going to be speaking of was March of 2023. So I guess a little less than a year in between. Before it was confirmed COVID in like mid-March 23, I was a little sick with something, like just very congested, it was kind of just like a cold, but I was still kind of going about my life, which I don't, ethically, was that the right thing to do? I was just I was still working, I was still going to school, I was still like on the grind, I didn't test actually, like I felt kind of bad about, but then mid-March, my dad was coming to visit me at college. So I was like, well, I'm feeling some type of way. Let me test. Because like my throat was a little icky and I was like, maybe I should just get a test. And when my dad picked up the test and I did it, it was like instant positive. Oh yeah, both times, by the way, that I've been sick with it, it's an instant positive. So the actual infection then of the second time, at least the known second time, was actually kind of bearable. Again, it was like a cold, and that was kind of it. Like it didn't really even persist. It maybe lasted a couple days. I think I took like some Dayquil and some NyQuil and I was fine, the thingy is blinking. I'm sorry, that's so funny. I paused because I needed to catch my bearings, but then my mom called me, and then it started torrential downpouring, and then on our back deck we have this patio furniture with an umbrella, and that fell. So my dad and I had to go out, and literally it was just, I don't know if you can hear it, but it's just like pouring and pouring. It's kind of like very dramatic, and having to hoist it back up. And now I'm cold and my legs are wet. But at least, I didn't get, I'm still fairly dry, but now I have a blanket. Anyway, where was I? Okay, so, I guess what I was going to say is that the other times that I have tested for COVID since then was in June of 24, I believe, because actually my family got COVID, or my mom and my dad did, but I had symptoms before them. Like I was, again, it's like the sore throat kind of thing, but when I tested, it was negative. And when I've tested since then, like I tested recently as well, because I just was feeling more like just off and sickly, and there was also some like exposure that I learned of, and so I tested, and that was negative as well. So who knows what's going on with my body. I also know something's with my light. Okay, whatever, we're trying to get this done. So yes, basically, let's go back to March of 2023. So I am sick in like mid-March. I recover. By the end of March, I go to the Renaissance Fair, which I do have video on my channel about. Okay, I just keep getting interrupted, but it's okay. I go to the Renaissance Fair, and let me just say this, actually. So my physical condition before all this, I feel like was pretty healthy. I didn't really think twice about my health. I think I had some physical, like I have torn a ligament before, and I had some problems with my knees, and we'd kind of do physical therapy, and I found that would kind of help me. But I think health anxiety has always kind of been there, but when it came to like weather, like the actual physical weather, it never really was a thought of how that would impact my health. And especially going down to Miami, and it being really hot basically all the time, I was fine with it. Being in France during a heat wave, like hundreds of degrees, I actually, I don't really remember any complaints from that. If anything, maybe I was I would kind of get too hungry at a point. Like I think because I was seeing everything and I didn't want to stop to eat. So I remember being like hunger pang. But I never felt like really ill or like, oh, I'm going to pass out. But at the Renaissance Fair, oh, here we go. She's back. At the Renaissance Fair, I felt normal that day. To be fair, I did have breakfast, but it was a very, very light breakfast, and I probably should have eaten more. And it was like some 90-some degrees, and didn't think twice about it, kind of was feeling fine, walked, around. And then at a certain point, I was like, oh, I'm getting like these hot flashes. And typically when I've gotten hot flashes before, I kind of just disregard it because nothing's ever happened. I just get hot flashes and that's that. But this time, so I was disregarding it, and then it kept coming, and I was like, oh wait, shoot, I feel like I am going to faint. Like this is like the first time I've ever felt like this way in my life, where I actually like, oh, I do not have control like really over my body. My vision was going black. So I was kind of freaking out. The two girls that went with me kind of held me and walked me to the, so I could sit down on the ground, and I still was conscious enough to like reach my bag and like eat something real quick. And it was clementine, I remember. And I ate that, and then I perked back up like a clam. Like I was totally fine. It did not affect me. It didn't make me nervous. I wasn't thinking about it afterwards. Like even like the days or weeks out, I did not traumatize me. I was just like, it's fine. Like I just didn't eat enough, which there is truth to that, But I think it's important to note, because that was like basically 10 or so days after my infection. So I think that might have something to do with it. I'm not sure. Right. This is all kind of, I think for those watching, you'll kind of see that it's all kind of a guessing game. It's kind of like, well, I think it's this, because it's kind of hard to prove. And you know, I'll get into my point later of like how people would kind of disregard me and not believe me, because sometimes the concrete proof isn't always there, but it could also just be that sometimes you don't have the test or the technology yet to diagnose, okay, this is long COVID. More on that later. I'm just kind of going on the background now. But so that was that. I finished out the rest of that semester, the spring semester, fine, healthy, really no complaints. Towards the end of that semester though, like in like April 20's and further, I remember like I was doing a dance workout and I was kind of, sometimes I go too hard, right? And that's how I hurt my knees. Like, I mean, sometimes I just dance too hard, you know, and I want to be like Beyonce and I end up hurting myself. But I was dancing and doing all that, and I like, just, I guess the way I move my head, you know, I felt sick, my head was hurting, and I was like, did I just give myself whiplash? You know, like, do I have a concussion? And so I go to bed hoping it's gonna go away. I wake up, and I still have like a minute headache still there. But I kind of go about my day, and I think it eventually goes away. But I do have the day marked in my notes here, that on April 29th of 2023, I do wake up with it was like, I felt like I got hit by a truck. That was like the day after. Okay, so basically it was, my mom came down to pick me up because we were going to drive back up from Florida to my home. And that was my first night at her hotel, because I had moved out of my college dorm, stayed at her hotel. The next day I woke up, I felt like I was hit by a truck. No idea why. I felt great the day before. I felt hot. I felt good, you know, like I felt fine. The next day I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I've been hit by a truck. My brain hurts. It's hard to think. It's hard to process. It's just like, it kind of hit me out of nowhere. And I was like, oh my gosh, do I have a concussion? I was like, do I have a concussion? I don't know, but yeah, no idea. And I was also thinking, like, I just was getting like really bad thoughts, like out of nowhere as well, which I guess maybe that can come with maybe some concussive symptoms. And I was just not having it, you know? And I remember we had to go to a baseball game, and I was just like sleeping at the baseball game because I just felt really off and I didn't want to be there. And yeah. So then throughout that week of, you know, us driving up, I just kind of have this headache that's just kind of like there. Like, it's not the worst thing in the world, but I'm having this headache persistently, not going away, and it's freaking me out. And so let's see. Well, I guess on my drive home, I do remember being like, I'm going to drive. I'm doing this for my mom because I know she wants to take a break, but I feel like I'm going to pass out, which I know is dangerous. But I was like, I feel sick, you know, and I'm just driving, you know. I was like, I must have a concussion or something. I don't know if it's the COVID, or I don't know if it's because of my workout. Like, I don't know. And when I come home, now we're on May 5th. So I guess between April 29th and then May 5th, still having those headaches for a couple days. And so my dad is like, let's go to the ER. And instead of, I don't know, maybe just scheduling a doctor's visit or going to urgent care or something. So we went to the ER, and because I was having this persistent headache, and they checked me for concussive symptoms. I think they checked me for, is it meningitis or something? They checked me for basically all of that. And, And then they're basically like, okay, we'll give you it sounds like you're just having a migraine. Like, we're going to give you a migraine cocktail. I don't know what was in that migraine cocktail, but I wonder what my symptoms would have looked like if I didn't get that medicine, because that is what really like set me, like, it triggered something even worse, after just having those kind of like baseline like headaches that were annoying, and that I knew they weren't right and they're freaking me out, but it wasn't like god awful. So I get this migraine cocktail, And it just makes me feel, the nurse was like, you know, my husband had this and it made him feel like, he wanted to crawl out of his skin. She said something like that. And I was like, wonderful. And, they're giving it to me, and like my heart rate, I'm laying down, it shoots up to like, I don't know, like the 130s, 150s. It's like really high. And they're monitoring me. And I have to like pee a lot, I keep getting up to pee, and I just feel like so shaky. And I did say, I was like, I feel like I'm gonna have a panic attack. Like, I feel like my heart is gonna like burst out of my chest. I don't know what they gave me. And so after I guess stabilized more and I come home, it was just awful. Like, I remember I couldn't sleep in my bed. I don't know why. I had to like have the TV on and sleep on my couch because I just felt so off. I was like, I feel like I'm dying. Like, it just felt like it was just such a foreign feeling in my body that I had no idea what was going on with me, and it just felt so uncomfortable. And so the days after that, I have a very minimal appetite, which is freaking me out even more, because it's like, well, I need to eat to survive, to have energy, and I can't eat. I don't have the appetite to. I feel like I'm gonna pass out. I can't really go anywhere. My anxiety was just so heightened, and I was like, this is what death feels like. Like, it feels like I can't do anything. I just feel awful. To be fair though, I wasn't really having headaches. It was more just like internally. It just was like, something's not right. I just felt so like, yeah, it was like that it was like that feeling of her saying like, you want to crawl out of your skin, but it was persistent, for days and days. And I remember like, I was trying to go for a walk, and I felt like I got this flash, and that, like that, it freaked me out. And I was like, it's like 60s, you know what I mean? It's not even super hot outside, but why do I feel like I'm going to pass out? And I just was so freaked out, and just trying to eat the food that I could. And yeah, the rest of that month of May, I was home just trying to take it easy and trying to heal as best I could, I guess. And I did get to a point where I was hanging out with some friends, and it was all right. But it definitely was still kind of like the beginning of my new normal, And then June, I have I start as a teaching fellow. When was it? I think I have it here in like mid-June-ish. I start going, and we drive back down to Miami. And we are doing some sightseeing, but I just remember feeling like we were walking around Savannah, and it was probably like 80, 90 degrees, something like that. And I just remember like my head, it almost felt like it was like my head was like a metal helmet that was so heavy. And I was like, well, I just got to believe I'm not going to pass out, And even though my head feels like awful and just horrible, I was trying to keep hydrated. I was walking around. I was still like able to kind of experience things, but there still something was wrong, literally like neurologically, in my brain. And I guess I can say this, like, to this day, I haven't actually, passed out, right? Or like lost consciousness. Knock on wood. So I guess that does kind of give me some sort of solace, that even though I might feel really bad and my head might really hurt, that hasn't happened, even in like the thick of it, like the worst of my symptoms. So basically, yeah, feeling off. I become a teaching fellow, and I'm trying my best, and I think a lot of these pictures and videos I see myself during this time, when it was really the thick of it, of the long COVID, I seem totally fine, really. And yeah, I don't think people really understood the full depth of what was going on, because you couldn't also readily see it. Like, I didn't look sick, you know what I mean? I looked fine. But I was also having like this throat pain persistently. Headaches, feeling like I was going to pass out, not really able to like do much. I was just kind of like, I'm going to work. I'm doing these things that I need to do. I can't remember if I was taking classes like online, but I just felt like disabled. Like, I felt very limited in what I could do. And let's see, I also would have like weird chest pain as well, weird stomach pain. And I just think the way I was acting with some people, maybe if I was acting weird, I think maybe people didn't understand what I was going through, or maybe discounted it. And so maybe they made up their own judgments of me, maybe positive or negative. I don't know. But I just think, they didn't know what was going on, like the full picture. I will say there was also a period in that time, I think that distraction can really help, like that distraction in that structure, because I don't really remember having headaches all the time in that period, actually. Like I was having persistent headaches, and then there was actually a bit of a break. And I think it was because of that routine and everything that I felt off. Like I knew that like my typical body was different because it was like very hyperactive. Like it was just like anything and everything it felt like was too much for my system, and it was like over exciting and over agitating. And so I wasn't really like going out and doing things much. And maybe sometimes I would, but it was very once in a while, and then it would be like back to kind of like, very just staying at home and isolating and chilling, and whatever came with that, but I did go on a trip. Like it was the end of like July, early August. And I actually wrote down here that I had no headaches during that time, but I just had like this immense throat pain, and it was affecting the way it would hurt to talk, and it would hurt to sing. And it was just, I didn't know what was going on, but I took all these tests and like it wasn't strep, it wasn't COVID, so that was a weird symptom that I was just randomly getting, And then when that program ended in August, and I was like, I'm feeling more normal. Because again, I think the structure and the routine really helped. Once it ended, literally like the day it ended, and I was hanging out with one of my friends, and then I decided to go to this coffee shop to do some work, I guess, because I was waiting, for my family to come down to pick me up or to help me move in or something like that. I was still staying a bit longer, but there was no structure left. And literally, I'm at the coffee shop, not really expecting to feel bad, because I guess I just had gone to a point where it's like I kept it sort of at bay. And I had proven like I was able to do things. Like on that trip I went to in late July, like I was kayaking and stuff in the heat, and I was like, I guess I'm fine now, But then it hit me out of nowhere again, and I just felt really bad, and I felt like I was going to pass out, and it felt like, it even felt like my vision was getting a little funny, and I was like, shoot, I gotta drive. I have to drive back. I have to get myself back in the dorm. And, that dorm situation, during that summer was not a good one. I'll be frank. It was really felt very negative and toxic in a lot of ways. I don't want to be dramatic, but it just wasn't, optimal, especially for what I was feeling, not a supportive environment. And I was going back there, and it's like, when you're feeling like poop, and then you have to see these people, or I don't know. It was just very stressful. So that was that. I had to move myself out of there, and a little bit of help from my dad, but it was mostly me in that. And I was just, again, physically strenuous, and I was like, where is this coming from? So again, it kind of goes into, there was these ebbs and flows, and feeling confused, like, why is this happening? I'm young, I'm supposedly healthy, what's going on? These tests are coming back normal. I'm mad, I want to be able to live my life. So those are things going on. They actually then, at the end of the program, I went with my family to Disney, because our extended family was going to Disney, and I didn't really go. Like, I didn't go the first couple days. I was staying at the hotel, because my head was hurting, my throat was hurting. I just felt like I felt ill. Like, the heat was really bad too. If I would go out, it would just make me feel like I was going to pass out, basically. Even though I was eating and I was drinking water, and it was very hard to pinpoint, There was one day that I went, and it was like supremely hot. It was like probably mid-high 90s degrees. And I stuck it out the whole day, but I had like this, basically, it like, I was going to say like a metal headache. Like, it just feels like, I don't even know how to describe it. Like the squeezing, and oh my gosh, the squeezing and the fullness and the pressure. It's very freaky, and also, you know, heat exhaustion. I was really trying to like cool myself down and drink water and all of that. I did tough it out the whole day, you know, and oh, I think I was on antibiotic at that time because they also took me to urgent care because I could see like there's white stuff. You know how like they look for the white stuff like on your tonsils or whatever? Like I could see that. So I was like, what's going on? It could have been another viral infection. Who knows? But so I was taking an antibiotic for that. And going to Disney. I don't know why. But just stomach was hurting, you know, everything was hurting. And I come back home that night and it's like I closed my eyes to lay down. And it just felt like, it's almost like how you feel like when you're motion sick on one of those roller coasters that are really spinny. And it just felt like when I would close my eyes, like things were kind of like spinning and moving, and made me feel sick. And I'm like, this is not right. You know, this is not what I should be feeling. And I was also getting like, it's almost like hallucinations. Like it's not like when my eyes were open, I was seeing things. I was like, close my eyes and I get these wacky visuals. It was just really wacky. And I was just like, what's going on, you know, in my brain. And then I didn't spend time at Disney like the whole rest of the trip. And I remember I have this picture of me like with this cold towel on my head, you know, and just trying my best, but it was just like my body just wasn't cooperating. And you know, my aunt's a doctor, and we were trying to, you know, she was trying to help me, I guess, the best she could, you know, but it was just hard. Then I go to the Beyonce concert actually, and I actually was thinking about canceling going to her Renaissance tour in Miami, because that week I was feeling bad. It was hard I didn't really go to Disney. I couldn't handle it, you know, and I was like, well, I'm not gonna be able to go see her. And then like last minute, I guess I mustered up some stuff and I did go with a friend. But that's the thing. It's like, I don't think she realized like I was feeling really like just not, I felt out of sorts. Like I was like, I just, you know, it's just this constant, like, it's almost like a Russian roulette of like taking time bomb. Like you feel like you might pass out, but you don't know when. And you know, you just don't feel fully in control of your body. But I still wanted to go see the concert. I paid the money, you know what I mean? So that was that. It's like one of those things where it's like, I was able to do things, but it was like these things that usually took no effort, no thought, where now it felt like a life or death kind of thing, like a very fight or flight kind of situation frequently. So then I start, you know, my that's my senior year of college, then we get into, and I'm seeing a throat doctor, like an ENT. He does the thing that, like, that tube that goes up and down. And I also found out I have a deviated septum, so he couldn't put it up this, I think it's this nostril. Couldn't put it up there, but the other one. I'm getting that. I'm getting a CT scan on my head and my neck. I got an ultrasound on my lymph nodes because my lymph nodes were still swollen, or at least this one. And it still actually goes up and down of being swollen. Like sometimes, but that took literally years. Like we're around the 2-year mark, a little over it. And I was like, I felt it had gone away, but now I feel like it's back again. So I'm getting ahead of myself, but she was doing that because I didn't know if I had like, it's like, what is it, lymphadenopathy or lymphedema or something like that, to see if something was more like malignant, I guess. That came back normal. My CT scan came back normal. When the guy did the checking, that came back, the tube, that came back normal. The only thing is I sent the results to my aunt, who's a doctor, and she was the one who informed me, you know, that I had tonsil stones, which is basically like an accumulation of, you know, basically like that lymphatic junk, like of your, I guess did you hear that? Your, I guess white blood cells, or the cells that fight infection, that got built up here. And that's why I was experiencing pain in my throat. And she was like, just do a saltwater rinse. And so I tried it and it worked. Like, so my throat didn't hurt anymore like how it used to, you know? So I was like, okay, well, to me, that's making me think that this is maybe more COVID. Because again, throughout this time, I didn't know exactly what the cause was. I thought maybe I had a concussion, but then they said I didn't have a concussion, so I don't know. It was just a lot of confusion. And so I was like, well, if this is like a buildup of basically lymphatic fluid and things like that, maybe this has something to do with basically like lymphatic inflammation, basically from my viral infections, and infection, parentheses with an S, who knows? And I was hopeful that maybe since that worked, that maybe there would be like an easy solution then to my headaches, basically, and anything like that. So that was that fall semester. But basically, I just remember most of my time was spent, it was work and school. My social life was very heavily dwindled than it was before. Like, I was very social before, and I would throw parties, you know what I mean? Like, I would hang out with people, and I wasn't really doing that. I felt like an old woman. I felt like a grandma, not really able to do much, just going home, going to work and going to school, and basically kind of doing the bare minimum. I would do things here and there. Like, I did do a birthday party, but I popped like a couple ibuprofens before my birthday party. You know what I mean? Because I just wanted to be able to enjoy it. And stuff like that. I mean, I also probably was doing things I wasn't supposed to because I was turning 21. So I did have some alcohol, which, was not good. Yeah. But, and then I did go to, Tallahassee for Halloween, and there were definitely fun moments. I think, honestly, when I was really distracted, that would kind of help, but the symptoms were still there. So I would do things sometimes, but honestly, I just remember most of the time was just kind of me in my dungeon, aka my room, and being very isolated and being very alone. So honestly, that was, I don't want a pity party. I just want to be able to talk about this candidly, my experience, right? And maybe some other people have experienced this in the past, or are currently experiencing this, and maybe they're my age and there's similar factors. I just kind of wanted to share my story, right? But I basically was just very alone. People didn't understand what I was going through. I think I seemed fine. And it was just, I didn't really have support where I was. Most of my support was with my family and with some friends, but they were not in that area. They were all north states, above me. So a lot of it was kind of like picking yourself up by the bootstraps, and doing the best I could with what I had. Hi, Editing Maya here. I just wanted to come on and say that I feel like I didn't point this out or recognize this. Oh, there's a kitty. When I was doing this initially, but I did want to say that I want to acknowledge that there was somewhat of like a support system down in Miami. And I did have some friends that they would, sometimes like maybe bring me soup or just like spend time with me because I just was feeling so low. But, I guess I just wanted to highlight like a lot of it, though. I felt like I was just kind of on my own. And I honestly, obviously having empathy for other people, right? Like, people are busy. We're in college. People have jobs. People have lives. People had their own difficult times that they were experiencing. So that isn't necessarily like this is no hate or judgment or anger. It's more just like recognizing like this is what it was at the time. I felt like I didn't have like a really robust support system, and who I really relied on was my family, basically, during that really like dark time, I guess. Then winter break, I think I start to feel better because I come home and, I think that kind of makes me feel better, but still, again, stuff's off. There's like, chest pain, heart palpitations, still headaches, still like basically POTS like symptoms, in the spring, and maybe it gets a little better at a point, but still the overall theme is basically the same, kind of feeling ill all the time, feeling like you might pass out with the heat, and not really having many friends, and just kind of being alone and having to deal with it on your own, and a lot of pain, and dealing with that, and just trying to kind of get through the day and figure out what's wrong with me, what is the uncertainty, because obviously I'm young and I want to feel better. And I guess here's the thing, I am vegan. Maybe you know this. And that was definitely a source of anxiety, because it's like, is this me? Am I doing something wrong? I definitely think that there's part of it that, maybe I wasn't eating enough, because I think I was trying to save money, and that, is on me. I mean, I didn't have a job at the time, but I was just trying to be judicious, and, with all of that. But I still was at, like, technically the healthy weight baseline, but it definitely was, like, right at that point, like, don't really go any lower. So that's the thing. It's like, I was just like, I got to make sure I'm, being healthy and nutritionally adequate, and just trying to figure it out. But then I'm also having these symptoms, and it's like, is it the COVID? Is it the diet? What is it? I do start to feel a little bit better towards the end, and I'm sort of able to, like, enjoy my graduation, and we'd actually go to Disney again in that June of 24, and I'm actually okay, and I actually am sick during it. Like, I literally think I had COVID during it, but I was still walking around doing things, and so I was, like, just feeling kind of off, but I was like, well, I'm still going ahead, and doing everything. Yeah, so I think a lot of it was just kind of then hanging out at home and enjoying that. I mean, there definitely were, I was having weird symptoms. I remember that over that summer, of, like, more kind of heart palpitations. It was difficult to sleep. I have all these journals, like, I've written these notes in, because I'm kind of, more of a disorganized kind of person, I guess. But I did try to do this tracking thing of my symptoms, because and I literally only did, like, the first 5 days of September of 2024. So, but yeah, I wrote down, like, headaches, and something I didn't mention. It wasn't just headaches. It was also, like, neck pain, and it was, like, the neck and a little bit the shoulders, but more just, like, this neck, and it hurt to sort of move. I had to be very, like, careful with moving, and my head would hurt. If I moved a certain way, it would hurt. I couldn't, like, move in the same way that I used to. Even, like, dancing for fun, that hurt, that would give me a headache, and and even these kinds of movements where I'm jostling very slightly would hurt, So I guess I'm just, all this to explain is, like, it was just kind of wacky and all over the place. And it was like, this is not how a 21-year-old, or basically it started when I was 20, because in March of 2023 I was 20. And then I turned 21, and now I'm 22. So it is just kind of like, this is not what, a young person should be feeling. It feels like, am I dying? What's going on? So there was that. Basically, I did get all these tests done, especially when I came home. I think there was this, like, wave of relief of, like, I am now in a place where I'm supported no matter what happens. Like, they will help me if I really need it. Like, if I don't have the energy to make food, like, they can make food for me, because that was the thing. Like, having to make food for myself was very stressful. It was because it was physical. You have to stand, you have to cook, and I'm not the best of a cook, and you have to make sure you're eating the right things. And yeah, so it was just really nice to be like, when I go home, I'll be taken care of. I need to be taken care of right now. I need to recover, because just doing that on your own, I think, builds resilience. But I hated it, like, it was just not a good time, obviously, and then being back home, there would kind of be, like, spouts of symptoms. Like, just weird. Sometimes it would be better than others. Like, I remember in August, I went to this vegan festival, and I was feeling okay, but then it's like then I'm there, and it's just like, wow, I feel like I'm gonna pass out again, and I just felt really weird. My body, it's just this inner sense that, like, something's off, it's that something's not right, and you just feel ill. That's the thing. I'm looking back through these pictures, and it really is just like, you couldn't tell. That's the thing. It's like, you really just couldn't tell, like, how bad I was feeling internally, with my headaches, and everything just felt off, right? I'm grateful that I was able to have certain days where I felt better, and I was kind of able to muster up more strength, and I did things out in the community. But those were kind of the highlights, but it definitely, I just remember most of it being like, I was just stuck, and feeling ill, and hibernating, I guess, isolating, alone, let's see. Basically, yeah, it was headaches, like, every day for the most part. Basically until, I think sometime in this fall/winter of 24, when it wasn't necessarily every day anymore. I mean, there were periods within that, like 2023 year and 2024, where it wasn't necessarily every day, but it was pretty much every day. When I started noticing the breaks, when I started noticing the pauses, and I was like, wow, I actually don't have a headache right now. That was, I think, more winter 24. I think a lot of it was also masking. I'm looking back through pictures, and it's like, because yeah, I had to work, I had to continue with my life, and I wanted to still enjoy it, as best I could. And so a lot of it was just passing/masking. I don't know, maybe it's more masking, being like, oh yeah, I'm fine, but it's like, meanwhile I'm sitting here and it's like I have like the worst headache. I feel like awful. And I guess you could say, well, why aren't you using ibuprofen or over-the-counter medicine? And I would say I did. There was a period where I really was taking that like consistently in fall of 2023. But my stomach then I started to get bad stomach pain. So I stopped, and I knew that it was not tenable to take over-the-counter, headache medication every day. Like that's not right. I was like, I want to address the underlying cause. I went to Shenandoah in October 2024, and I was glad I was able to do that. And it was physical, right? Doing all the hiking. But I remember having headaches there and still feeling kind of off. At that point, I had seen a homeopath, because my friends, family friends, had started trying out this homeopath. And I wanted to see if that maybe would do something, because basically a lot of the doctors I was seeing were kind of just disregarding me. Like, they were basically saying either, you're just stressed, or, yeah, I believe long COVID's a real thing and you probably have it, but oh well, like nothing we can do. So I was just trying these things and I just felt like no one was helping. I tried this long COVID clinic, but it took like forever to schedule to get an appointment. And then when I did, she was very affirming. I remember the nurse, or I don't know if she was a doctor or something in between that. She was affirming, but it wasn't any concrete solution. It was more just like basically what I was doing, trying to pace yourself and resting. And there wasn't like a thing you could take out, like basically a miracle cure, right? So I didn't go back to that. I tried this homeopath. I have a bunch of supplements from her, like literally hundreds of dollars. It was already like a couple $100 to like see this woman, which I know is like, it's like snake oil. Okay. It probably is. But I wanted to, like, I was like, she'll believe me to some extent. And at least maybe there's some placebo effect of me taking something, I don't know, something natural that maybe could help with the inflammation that I'm feeling. And so that was a couple $100 to see her. A couple $100 to also buy the supplements. I did just want to share, because like she would give you these graphs. Well, I guess I don't want to show the graphs, but like it's total like pseudoscience, But it was like, at least that first visit, it was showing like, okay, I have all these things that is coming up as flagged. And it was like the nervous system, cardiovascular, digestive, your pancreas, it says urogenital, lymph drainage, and endocrine. And then when I had started taking her stuff and like I went again, it just said that like my liver, gallbladder, and lymph drainage was like of concern or something. So I had continued doing some of her supplements there, but I don't think I've really gone since. I think I only went there like 3 times, because I was like, you know what, I don't know how much it's helping. I'm trying these things and whatever, at least what I was experiencing, like I was able to still work and do school, but that was just kind of like, even when I was back home, it was kind of like all I was doing. So I was still trying to find these solutions to help me. And I tried this thing called functional neurology, which it's like the whole place they're filled with Republicans. I'm sorry, not to get like partisan, but it was just kind of like the fact that, because I wanted to disclose, like, well, I am vegan, but like, and but I think it's more COVID, and I am vaccinated. And then it was just like the fact that I was vegan, the fact that I was vaccinated, like really like rankled this guy, that was going to be, working with me. That was a couple $100 to do like the test. We have to do this eye test, and they track your eye movement. And they definitely noticed stuff wrong with that, like the way that my eyes are moving, and like my pupils were not like even, like one pupil was bigger than the other. So that was like apparently not normal. I don't know. And that could be contributing to headaches. And so after you pay that, before they can like confirm they can help you, you know, and then it's like, okay. And then it was like basically $1,300, I think, for the actual like 10 sessions. And then like I think another couple hundred or 100 or so to get this comprehensive panel, which honestly the comprehensive panel was helpful because, you know, in the blood work that I've gotten in the past, it all kind of came up as like everything was normal. And so did this. Like the blood work came back normal, like my levels were fine. The only thing was when it came to food sensitivity, when it tested for that, it did say I was sensitive to gluten and things like that, like oats, gluten. It did say rice and soy, but that was like more of like a little bit of an inflammation. And so I still eat those. And honestly, sometimes I still eat gluten. And I think that's why, like, when I had kind of gone off gluten, again, now trying to be vegan and gluten-free, like it was just a lot of making my own meals at home and stuff like that. And I do feel like I noticed an improvement there, because now actually I notice when I eat more gluten, I can feel it here. Like it's not, I don't feel it necessarily in my stomach. It's like I feel like I'm having an immune reaction in my lymphs here. And then headaches and stuff like that. So it's like, okay, well, I think that's like an every once in a while kind of thing. But I kind of have to limit that, you know. Basically, after all those tests are done, then I do the functional neurology, and they have all these, you know, again, because it's not, I don't know the right word for it, but it's not covered by insurance, really. I think it was very minimally covered by insurance. So some of the things that they were doing is like the spine alignment. They would do chiropractic work. They would hook me in this machine that like to my neck, and it would like elongate my neck, and like electro stimulation to my vagal nerve in my ear. I would do eye exercises of like what I had to focus on, and like moving with the dot, focusing on the dot, doing like this tempo thing of like making sure I'm clapping to the beat, doing like these things like the figure eights with my arms and my legs, like on both sides to trigger the brain, electrostimulation to the tongue, more electrostimulation to the ear, red light therapy on the back of my neck and my shoulders, like all of that. And I don't know exactly what was the thing that like helped, but I do think that helped, because I noticed after going through that treatment, I did notice, oh, like I'm not having headaches as much anymore. Like I'm still not perfect, but I'm starting to feel, I'm actually noticing an improvement. Like for a while, it just felt like flat, like nothing was getting better. Why is nothing getting better? So doing this neurological treatment, and it's actually helping, right? It's just a shame that it's so expensive. So I only did 10 sessions, and I could have continued for like another $1,000, but I didn't. I decided not to. And because I was feeling better at that point, and I was like, well, let me just see how sort of my body naturally heals with time after this. And let's see, I'm just going through my camera roll to sort of like help me dictate time. But yeah, I basically got a lot better actually since doing that, and kind of implementing some diet changes, starting to notice like I'm becoming more like myself, like what I was able to do before, like, you know, walking more and not feeling so bad, and exercising and not feeling, or just existing and eating, and, you know, just not feeling like ill all the time. And like and I get nervous, you know, before going to certain trips, because it's like, how am I going to react? You know, how's my body going to react? I went to DC in April, and it was hot, like 80s, and I was okay like that basically the whole day. I think I went to a concert in May, and at the end of May, another concert for Beyonce. I was fine basically. Like I think it was one of those things where I kind of I have to, my condition is still here, it's still there, it's kind of in the back of my mind. But I'm able to kind of now live my life. Like I'm basically reintegrating to society. That's how it feels. Like maybe people didn't even notice that I left, which is fine. But I felt like I kind of, I was divorced definitely from my old reality. Felt like I was divorced from everyone around me. I felt like I wasn't really posting because life was just bleh. It was not good. And now I'm kind of emerging back, because I don't want to flaunt, I don't know, my life if it's all fake, if I'm not actually feeling well. So, and I feel like I've increased sort of my alcohol intake, which I try to do, minimally, right? Because I still want to be health conscious, but like I really was like abstaining from like everything, and it just sucks because, you want to partake and you want to be young, you want to have fun. But then for me now, there are like still body repercussions to it. Yeah, honestly, I've just been noticing, like despite heat, I am not like, for a while it was like I have to make sure I have a snack, I have to make sure I have my water because I need these things if something happens. Now it's a bit more relaxed, like I might go on a walk and not bring my water, which maybe you always should, or not a snack, like I might not bring a snack. And so I just have been able to experience life more and not been feeling as like weighed down, like physically, but I will say, within the past like week or so, like I guess 2 weeks ago, I definitely noticed maybe I had caught something. There was a bit of an exposure with some friends. People were just getting sick and tested for COVID, like I said. Didn't have COVID, but who knows, right? Like it might be false negative. I don't know, because just the way that my body, I feel like, reacts to COVID now, it can be different. It's just, I'm not understanding my body. But I just noticed that now I'm like, okay, my lymph nodes are kind of throbbing again, like they hurt, a little headachy, a little bit of the neck pain, right? It's not nearly as bad as what I have experienced, but that's just the thing. It's kind of like this ebb and flow. It's like I was really like, there's this jubilation. I'm free. I am unencumbered anymore. Like I am, basically almost back at my normal self. But I just think that like every time that I get a little sick now, like I'll have like, it's not during the sickness, it's like a little bit after, where it's like, oh, now I feel kind of lousy. And like walking today, I couldn't do the full walk. I mean, the full walk is like that I want to do is like 3 miles. And I think I did like 1.5 miles or 2, which is still like good, but I was just like, I know I'm like, my body needs water. I didn't bring my water bottle, which was like, why did I do that? Didn't bring my water. And I was like, I need like a banana, even though I had eaten that, I had more of a substantial breakfast. I was just like, my head's throbbing, it's aching, and not pleasant, right? And that can kind of put a damper on my mood, right? Because you want to feel like you are healing and that you are getting better. And it's been so long. It's been over 2 years. We're talking basically when my symptoms like of long COVID started, of April 29th, 2023, and now we're June 19th of 2025. Like that's over 2 years. Definitely I can recognize that I've come a long way and I've definitely come back to myself a bit more. But it is still this uncertainty of like, how is this going to be forever, where I'm just kind of always gonna have to deal with this, where I'm not fully at the capacity I was before, where I don't really have to think about it. Like, is this always something where I really have to be mindful and really have to be careful about like what I eat and what activities I do and like the weather that's out there? It's like, you just want to like be able to effortlessly live, and it definitely has become easier, but it's still not like what it was before. And I think it's like when you have a taste of what it was like before, of what it was like when you were completely unencumbered, and then you kind of get this huge weight on top of you and you're just trying to like desperately get it off, and it's like you're shifting it off, but it's still kind of like there's still a little bit on there. It's like you just want to get it off, you just want to be done, and it can be frustrating. And I also don't want to be like, it's like maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe there is something in my lifestyle, in my diet, that I'm not doing adequately. But again, with all the tests that I've gotten and the metabolic tests that I've gotten, they all come back normal, suggesting that I am not malnourished, that something else is occurring. And I think that what is kind of the thing that really solidifies it for me is that I think it's long COVID, is because I feel it in the lymph nodes, and because this is it's a new disease. My body had never experienced it before 2022, And it's new to the whole world, and so we don't know the effects of it. We don't know the long-term effects of it, and the fact that I'm also young, relatively healthy, it's like, why did this happen to me, you know? But I do think that I got a particular strain that was just insidious, that it was fine when you had it, but it's done something to my body where it's just like it's not able to fully get out, like it's caused a malfunctioning in my system. So whew. Oh, I guess I want to say that I also would do like a lymphatic massage, which also is super expensive, to do this lymphatic massage. And all she did was like these little like, it was like very light, like pokes around basically my whole body to stimulate flow. And I'm like, okay, that didn't really do anything. I mean, yeah, it didn't really do much. Also wanted to mention that when I'm talking about how like expensive these therapies were, it's more me saying like I'm frustrated that these were so expensive for me to actually like get to a point where I feel better. And I definitely am like very grateful. I'm super grateful that I have a job now, that I have my parents who can support me in getting some of these therapies, but it should not be this inaccessible. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, if I had gone without these therapies that I was trying, who knows where maybe I would have been at this point in now the summer of 2025 compared to, you know, the spring of 2023. Maybe it would have been the same, but I think it's a real shame that these kinds of therapies are not really readily offered at an affordable, or dare I say it, free cost. And there's also a lot of questioning of you and invalidating of the person that is experiencing these, you know, more invisible kind of illnesses. On that though, I wanted to also share, speaking of like lymphatic drainage stuff, I got this from TikTok shop because I was like, I'm gonna try anything, you know, and you can like change colors, and I think the purple one is for like lymph drainage or whatever, and you put it and it heats up and it vibrates, and you do like your gua sha, or however you say it. I'm sorry, I'm not entirely sure, but that I think has helped with stimulating, like, you know, lymph flow. But again, it's not a miracle cure. It's just kind of something that like helps me, I guess, makes me feel better, and I guess it's a good lymph massage, but it really is kind of like, is this really helping? I don't know. So yeah, basically, I know this is very long-winded. If you made it to this point, you know, I appreciate you. I had just wanted to make a video talking about this experience because it's been my whole life now, for not my whole life, sorry, but it's been I guess it's been my whole life for like over 2 years, and it's been very kind of no, that's not the right phrase. It's been very it's just been very like changing. I don't know the correct word for it. Very comprehensive, and it just completely changed my life. You could say for the worse, you could say for the better, because I do believe that, you know, you build resilience through hard times, and there are definitely people who have experienced way worse than me, so I kind of am lucky in a lot of ways. But I just wanted to share what I experienced because I think a lot of people don't know. Maybe some people who don't even know me have experienced something very similar, and they want hope. And I want to try to give some semblance of hope, or at least some sort of comfort, like you're not alone. It may be very confusing, and you have no idea what's going on with your body. And I still feel that anxiety. It's kind of tapered a little bit, but there's all these studies that I've been looking at, and I'll put some sources in the description as well, saying like basically what long COVID is, and a lot of it kind of lines up with my story. Like it says 6 to 8 weeks after infection. That's kind of what happened to me. Like you get these symptoms and they're not going away. Some of them are also saying like people recover in like a year and a half, 2 years. And it's been about 2 years for me. And I'm like mostly there, but I think that like every time there's sort of like another infection that I experience, there's a little bit of a drawback, which is just annoying, you know, and it's like you want to experience your life. So all that to say is I wanted to share my experience, not for pity or sympathy. I just wanted to be honest, and I wanted to kind of, if people cared to listen, like I wanted to share, this is what happened. This is what I was experiencing. And maybe if I was acting a certain way, maybe this is why. Like, you know, maybe it was hard to understand at the time, but, you know, I'm trying to, just give an honest account. And for people who kind of like are deniers and like they don't believe it, I guess that's them, because a lot of people would not understand it, would not believe it because it was hard to see. It's the whole thing of like an invisible illness. And I'm here to say that it is very much real, that people experience it, even young people like myself. There is science to back that up. Again, I'll have links in the description of what I've seen, kind of backing that up of those people's experiences, and also doctors saying like, you believe the patient, because guess what, I've had anxiety in basically my whole life. I know what that's like. This is different. This was my body chemistry felt altered. Okay. So I don't appreciate being like, oh, it's just anxiety. Maybe you're just stressed. It's like, no, I know what stress is like. This is like a whole other level. My body knows that something is foreign, something's not right. It's not acting the way it used to. So I guess I wanted to share my story. I hope this helps someone in some way, and provides hope in some way. I think that what kind of literature and that I'm seeing is saying that people just get better with time. And I'm hoping that because I'm young and because I'm eating plant-based, that a lot of plant foods are rich in antioxidants, that will kind of help me along the way. And I'm still grateful that I'm able to exercise. I'm relatively fit and seemingly fit. I'm able to hold a job. I'm able to go to school. My social life has since expanded. There was a period of that, it being enclosed. Now it's opening up again. I will say, I think the experience kind of showed me, it's kind of like I don't want to curse in this channel, but it's kind of like an S or get off the pot kind of moment, a poop or get off the pot kind of moment, because it makes you be like, when kind of all this thing kind of hits the fan, when the poop hits the fan. As you see, I want to use these analogies, and it's kind of earth shattering and earth altering. It makes you reevaluate your values, what's important to you, who's important to you, and what do you want to do with your life? What do you need to actually get serious about? And like, once you're better, what do you want to do now with your revitalization? Now with this new infusion of life, what are you going to do now? And I've definitely been trying to put that into practice and just be more clear about what I want to do with my life, because it's like, this is kind of it was a wake-up call. I think it was a wake-up call for me of like, what do I want to do? Who do I want to be around? Who do I love? Who loves me? What would I accept in treatment or in relationships? And just where do I want to go? Where do I want to travel? What do I want to see? What do I want to read? It's kind of one of those things, if that makes sense. So again, I just want to acknowledge that my pain is not the worst pain ever to have been felt in the world. I understand I'm super privileged, incredibly privileged. I'm very grateful for my family, especially that they were there for me. And again, I do not want to throw a little pity party, right? Because I just feel like that's not the vibe, what I want to do. I just wanted to share. And I invite other people to share their experiences, because I just think it's important to talk about and sort of not to judge, just to be like, okay, this is how you felt, and this was your experience, and kind of go from there. So I hope this helped. I really appreciate if you stayed to the end and you heard my story. I had been wanting to make a video for some time, because this is my lived experience. I didn't know how I was going to go about it. I didn't know how I wanted to do it. I didn't know how it would maybe be perceived. Like, there was a lot of just like unknowns, and I know this video is kind of all over the place. It was just kind of a lot to kind of cram in, and I was like, should I make a list and everything of like how I want to do it? And I was like, you know what? I kind of just wrote down things like randomly. Like, I have all these notebooks on my table on my desk right now. So I'm going to edit it, and I'm going to try to splice it in ways that make sense. But nonetheless, I appreciate you bearing with me. I hope I'm not forgetting anything, because I'm very much like, oh, I'm going to turn this on and be like, I forgot to mention that. But basically, that's kind of the gist of my story. And all I can say is that I'm chugging along. And for the people that have been real ones, I appreciate you. I've definitely become more spiritual, I think, through this. as you can see. And I think that really helps during hard times. Kind of leaning on just something you can't see, just being like, you just have to have the faith that it's going to get better, because otherwise this just sucks. And like, what's the point, you know? So definitely, I think that deepened my spiritual journey, but the spiritual journey is a whole other video in and of itself of, you know, what even is that? And some days it feels like more connected than others, right? But all this to say, I hope you're doing well. I wish you all, you know, health, healing, and happiness, jubilation, and joy. And that is just kind of what I'm trying to channel and infuse just for everyone and the future of me, myself, and the world. Obviously, it's kind of a lofty thing, but what do you have if you don't have hope? So I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much. I love you guys, and I will see you next month. Bye.